have two scriptures today. The first one is 2 Corinthians 3:18. And we all, who with unveiled faces contemplate God's glory, are being transformed into God's image with ever-increasing glory, which comes from the sovereign God, who is the Spirit. And the second, Psalm 46. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear, though the earth give way, and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea. Though its waters roar and foam, and the mountains quake with their surging. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place where the Most High dwells. God is within her. She will not fall. God will help her at break of day. Nations are in uproar. Kingdoms fall. God lifts voice. The earth melts. God Almighty is with us. The God of Jacob is our fortress. Come and see what the sovereign God has done. The desolations God has brought on the earth. God makes war cease to the ends of the earth. God breaks the bow and shatters the spear. God burns the shields with fire. God says, be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Almighty God is with us.
Amen.
If you love God this morning, can you say amen? Amen. It's wonderful to be in the house of God. It's wonderful to be at Valley Ministries, Stockton, California. Woo! It's wonderful to be in a church where there's a pastor who plans out. You know, Reverend Terry, she doesn't just get up here on Sunday and start preaching. She has a plan, she has a direction, she has an idea, she has a message she wants this congregation to hear. And she's been doing a series of messages on the mirror. See, you see your face reflected there? Reflection from glory to glory. And then, why me? Why me? Well, this morning, I am so happy to be here. Kathleen and I drove down together from just up above Sutter Creek, California, up in the Mother Lode. But, yes, you're all invited. Sometime next summer we should just have a picnic or something. Have the whole church up there, and you're going to get a good chance to be there. But this morning, I'd like just for us to spend this time together. Amen. There's a preacher who came to a church to preach. Now, this was not the regular, everyday preacher you saw every morning, but it's a preacher who walked into a church, didn't know what was going to go on, and as this preacher walked in the church, waited for the congregation to come, and the congregation didn't come, the congregation didn't come, the congregation didn't come, so the preacher started to pick up the things and leave when this farmer comes in the door. And the preacher said, well, I was just leaving. Because there's just one here. And the farmer said, well, I'm a farmer. He says, and if I go out for a load of hay into the pasture, and there's just one little cow out there, I don't pack up my hay and go home. I feed that cow. Amen. So the preacher said, well, I better preach. So the preacher got up and preached, you know, from Genesis to Revelations to here to there. Finally, the farmer is almost asleep listening there. And preacher winds up, and the farmer says, you know, he says, if I go out with a load of hay, and there's just one cow that shows up, I'll feed her, but I won't give her the whole load.
Very good.
Well, you're going to get half a load today because you don't have a long scripture. I won't preach till the cows come home. You know, I'm capable of doing that.
We love it. We love it.
But today, you know, we're going to kind of be short. Like the Bible verse that we read is short. I'd like to build on it because it's about looking in a mirror. And this is what Reverend Terry wanted for you, and this is the last of this series. where we're looking in the mirror, we're reflected from glory to glory. So if we look into 2 Corinthians, the 3rd chapter, Paul is preaching, and he says, since we have such great hope, we use great plainness of speech, and not as Moses, which put a veil over his face, that the children of Israel should not steadfastly look to the end of that which is abolished. But their minds were blinded, for until this day remains the same veil, untaken away in the reading of the Old Testament, which veil is done away in Christ. But even unto this day, when Moses is read, the veil is upon their hearts. Nevertheless, when it shall turn to the Lord, the veil shall be taken away. So there's a veil. Moses, remember the story of Moses? He went up to the Mount Sinai to get the 10 Commandments, and was in the presence of God. His face shone so much that he had to wear a veil when he came down because his face was shining for being in the presence of God. Well, the Apostle Paul says we don't need a veil anymore. The veil's been taken away. And then he says, for we all with open face beholds as in a glass, as in a mirror, the glory of the Lord, are changed into the same image from glory to glory, even as by the Spirit of God. We are changed from glory to glory. It's an important point. This sermon has a title. It's called Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. Does anyone know what that expression comes from, that quotation?
Snow White.
Louder?
Snow White.
Snow White. The scariest movie that was ever made. Do you remember it was the scariest movie ever made? The witch is running up. Remember her? She's running up the mountain, and the lightning is flashing, and the music is playing, and the hawks are screaming. You know, I almost never lived through it. In fact, it was so scary. Let me tell you, this is a true fact. It's a true fact. When the movie was released, it was played in Radio City, New York City, and they keep playing the same movie over and over and over again because there's so many people in New York. So it played for about 2 years. About 2 years at Radio Theater. And when the run of Snow White was over, you know what happened? They had to remove all of the seats and put in new seats. Why? All the children wet their pants, and they went to the movie, and they ruined the seats. They had to change the movie. It was so scary. And some of us feel that way when we get up in the morning and we go in, and maybe the first thing that we do is we look in the mirror.
That's scary.
You know what? Most of us don't wet our pants. You know, but it's a shock. Our hair's all weird. Our eyes are all weird. I run into the bathroom. I wash my face. I comb my hair before I even go out and see Kathleen. You know, if I were a man, I'd have to shave, or else I'd have to grow a beard. Very, very scary thing. You could put a bag over your head, you know, and go out. And this is what the Apostle Paul is saying. You know, we don't have to put a bag over our head. We don't have to have a veil anymore, because we reflect, as Christians, we reflect the light of Christ. We reflect the light of Christ in our lives. But I'd like to get back to this mirror. My dad used to say, you know, about looking in the mirror, my dad used to say, my face, I don't mind it, for I am behind it. It's the people out front that I jar. We go into the bathroom. Why do we do this? I mean, why bother? Why can't we just get up, go out, and go to work, or go out? You know, no, we can't do that, because we want to be presentable to the world. We want to put a good face on the world. We want the world to see us as good people. But you know, the world is a very bad teacher. The world is a very, very bad teacher for people. Because the world tells us that there are certain things that we need to do. If we are going to be whole people, we need to eat this, we need to read this, we need to drive this, we need to wear this, we need to think this, and the world do is totally wrong. We figure as we look in the mirror that it's better to face the truth so we can make the changes that we think are necessary to make ourselves presentable to the rest of the world. But the reason we join together in churches like this, is this working okay? Yeah. Everybody hears me. The reason we join together like this is because we care about our souls. And to be presentable to the world is not okay enough. It's okay, but it's not okay. Even fame and fortune may look good to the world around us, but we may be crying and dying inside. The person next to you, nobody knows. Nobody, maybe someone in here today, may be crying and dying inside. And people say, eat this, buy this, try this, drive this, wear this, get an education, go to school, get famous. But when we listen to the people who have made it, when we look around us, when we look out into the world, we say that the information that the world is giving us on how we can be presentable in our souls is not satisfying. It's not working for us. If we listen to what people say, a famous movie star said, nobody's happy. Everybody has to work at it. Another said, there are no happy days. Maybe moments, that's all. In the literary world, Hamlet, the Prince of Denmark, looking out upon the world, he's going to be king of Denmark. He says, fie upon it, fie, it is an unruly garden gone to seed. Things rank and gross in nature possess it merely. We have our heroes, and we listen to what they say. One of my heroes, of course, was always Elvis. I loved Elvis. I love Elvis. Every time we go through Mississippi, Kathleen and I stop off in Tupelo. Little shotgun cabin, you run in through the front door, right back out the back door. Little Elvis Presley, born in Tupelo, moved to Memphis when after he started the school. One day, truck driver in Memphis, he's driving his truck along and he sees a sign that says, make a record, Sun Records. Elvis went in. Just plain Elvis went in. He made a record for his mama. And that record got put on the radio. And all of a sudden, Elvis was not little Elvis Presley from Tupelo, Mississippi. Elvis was the king. The king. He was yelled at and screamed at and idolized. And yet what did Elvis have to say about the fame that the world had given? About the Cadillac. He had so many Cadillacs. He used to give Cadillacs to friends. He was a great Cadillac giver. What did Elvis say? The whole world was at his fingertips. And he had no life of his own. Elvis, when he wanted to go bowling, would rent a bowling alley and wait until night to go into the bowling alley so he could bowl, just bowl. Elvis said, I would give $1 million just to live 1 week as an ordinary person lived. He had everything the world told him that he needed to be happy, to be fulfilled. He had fame, he had fortune. He had people who loved him. And yet he said, I would give $1 million for just 1 week of ordinary life. We who are hurting inside, perhaps. We who look out in the world and think, well, if only I were here, if only I were someone else, if only I had something else, if only people would recognize how wonderful I really am and recognize me in that way. We don't see the hearts of people. We see the outside. We see the reflection. We see what they are showing because we think this. Paul McCartney. He was just filled the new stadium in Sacramento, part of the Beatles. Paul McCartney says, I went back to Liverpool. I went back to where I grew up. He says, and I was walking the streets of Liverpool early in the morning, and I saw this young man who was walking to work in the morning, carrying his lunchbox in the early morning. And I looked at him, and I asked myself, who's the lucky bloke? Him or me? Who's the lucky bloke? Not either him or me. What's life all about? What is it when we look in the spiritual mirror? Are we looking at our faces? You know, we can put a smile on our face. You know, some of the saddest, most broken people in the world wear the biggest smile. Maybe you're one of them. Let a smile be your umbrella on a rainy, rainy day. Get up in the morning, fix our faces, put on our smile, go out to work, and all the time, hollow inside, putting on the smile. No. When we look in the mirror, when we look for our reflections, we're looking at our soul. Is there glory in our soul? Is there meaning in our soul? Is there something that's happening in our lives that is going to make our lives worthwhile? Is it well with your soul? Is it well with your soul? Now you were talking, and you know, we grew up in those churches. Kathleen was a Nazarene. I was a Nazarene. We were Nazarenes when Nazarenes were wild. My great-grandmother was a Nazarene preacher. We used to run around the sanctuary. She was in Sacramento, I was in Pocatello, but we were both running around the sanctuary being just wild. Glory, glory, glory. But people used to say, they didn't say, how's that new house of yours you bought? How about that car you're driving? How about that degree you've got hanging on your wall? Now, people in those churches, they'd get right to the point. They'd say, is it well with your soul, brother? They go up to the richest, most spectacular person, and they take them by the hand and they say, is it well with your soul? Can I pray for you, buddy? Is it well with your soul? There's a song called, Is It Well With Your Soul? You know the story of the song? You want to know the story of the song?
Yes.
Well, there was a man named William Spafford. And this was way back when my great-grandmother was young. And I'm old now. So you go back, me and another generation. That's a long time ago. Dwight Moody was preaching. Ira Sankey was playing the piano. Spafford was part of the team. He was going to go to London, but he wanted to stay home a little bit longer with Dwight Moody. So he sent his wife and his 4 daughters ahead on this steamship for England. And in one of the meetings one night, when everybody was just crowded around, and Ira Sankey was playing the piano, and the music was going, someone came in and handed Spafford a cablegram from the boat. From his wife. The cablegram read, ship wrecked. I, only I, have survived. His 4 daughters drowned at sea. Spafford left the meeting with Moody and Sankey, took off, went over to take care of what needed to be taken care of. But when he came back, a different person. It was a different person. Because something happened on that trip. He came back with the song, me to say, it is well. It is well with my soul. Look at yourself in the mirror. I was going to bring in the Sacramento magazine I got in the mail this week. It said doctors on the cover. But the last half was all full of plastic surgeons. As pictures of before and after, before and after. And some people it's drastic what plastic surgeries do. Some people it wasn't so much. I couldn't see what the difference was. But I want to talk about your soul. I want to talk about plastic surgery for your soul. That's what church is about. That's what we're doing here. That's what we experience here, what we know can make all of the difference in the world with our lives. If we can truly look in the mirror, which is Jesus Christ, and have glory reflected back, it will change our lives. The bad news today, folks, is if it's not well with your soul, Wall Street cannot cure you. Fame cannot cure your heart and soul. Fortune, no matter how much you have, cannot touch the heart, sick soul. You see people that we admire, people who made us laugh, Robin Williams, people whose agony, we didn't see it. We didn't see it. We might have wanted to be just like him. We might have laughed at, oh my goodness, what a wonderful, wonderful person. He had the money, he had the fame, he had the fortune. But they couldn't touch him. You know, the greatest psychologist in the world cannot change you. Cannot change you. I studied psychology. I've got my master's degree. I'm licensed, actually, as a therapist in the state of California. What we do is we diagnose people because we have to say what we believe is wrong. And we write it down. But we can't tell the person what we think is going on. Because if we try to say, I know what's wrong with you. Boom. Denial. All of the defense mechanisms in the world come up. Well, that psychologist is full of beans. Doesn't know a thing. Cannot possibly know about me. You can't have a person tell them what's going on inside of them. You cannot do it. It's got to come from the inside out. It's got to come from the soul outside. It's not going to come because your defense mechanisms are trying very, very hard to protect you. Sigmund Freud says it doesn't do any good to tell a person what's wrong with them. You've got to find some way to touch that button inside where they'll tell you what's happening. You've got to be able to touch that button inside, and it's very, very hard to do. But we're lucky. We're fortunate. The greatest button pusher in all history is Jesus Christ. The greatest button pusher in all the world is sitting right beside you this morning. Really. Really. And that button pusher wants us to look into his face. Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in his glorious face. That's what Corinthians 3:18, 2 Corinthians 3:18 is telling you. Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in his glorious face. Let him fill you. Let his presence fill you. Don't be thinking that the world has the answers. The world does not have the answers, but the answer's right here. This is why this church is here. This is why we celebrate this. Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in his glorious face. things of this